Okay, so what you're looking at is the bracket we made in the last video. I made it live, I put in all the picks, I put the games and everything, and I explained my choices, albeit I did put the disclaimer at the beginning of the video saying that, hey, I'm not really the smartest guy in the world, so if anything goes wrong in my bracket, then hey, don't blame me, blame the hockey gods. But lo and behold, everything's actually gone pretty alright, all things considered. I had 8 picks for the first round, and 7 of them went correctly. One of them I actually messed up on. I said that Minnesota was going to beat St. Louis in 7. St. Louis ended up beating Minnesota in 6. So out of the second round teams, I have a 7 out of 8 prediction score, I guess you could say, although most of the game's played numbers are a little bit off. I said Colorado would beat Nashville in 5. They ended up doing it in 4. Calgary, Edmonton, Florida, Tampa Bay, Carolina, and New York, though, were all my picks, and I only actually got 2 of the series correct. I said New York would beat Pittsburgh in 7, that actually happened, and then I said that Florida would beat Washington in 6, that also actually happened. I kind of underestimated how good the Leafs would be. I said Tampa would beat Toronto in 6, they did it in 7. Same thing goes for the Stars and the Kings. Either way, though, I wanted to make a little bit of a revisionist kind of video because we now have the second round in store, and I want to talk about these series. Now, before we get underway with any of that, I just wanted to showcase the NHL Bracket Challenge like this right here. Oh, by the way, thank you for the subscription right there. Justin Tam has just subscribed live as we are recording this video. Thank you so much. I wanted to showcase the 16 absolutely crazy people that are still alive in the NHL's Bracket Challenge after the first round. All these people had, let's go to Samantha's bracket right here, just because it appears that they are first. All these people predicted the first round correctly. 8 for 8 on who's gonna win, and 8 for 8 on the series length. Like, who the heck thought that Calgary and Edmonton would win their series in 7, Tampa Bay in 7, Carolina in 7, New York in 7? Who thought there would be this many Game 7s? Apparently 16 people went out there and actually did that, and they actually got the teams right. So there you go. Good job to the 16 people, the crazy people who predicted the first round completely correctly here. You can see that their champions are Colorado, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Colorado, Florida, New York, Colorado, St. Louis, Calgary, and Florida. So quite a bit of Colorados over there, and New York thrown in there too. 1 Calgary, 1 Carolina. It's just Colorado, and St. Louis over there. And a few New Yorks, I guess, as well. I had Calgary winning the Stanley Cup in my bracket, and, I didn't really think it would be appropriate to make a completely full, readjusted video with the brackets resetting and everything, because the fact that I got 7 out of 8, I'm already kind of shocked about that in the first place, so I guess that kind of validates my opinion to some extent. But let's go over the first series we have in the Western Conference. Colorado and St. Louis. Not Colorado, Minnesota, Colorado, St. Louis. I said this in the video, but I'll say it again here. Whether it was going to be Minnesota or St. Louis playing against Colorado, I think Colorado was making the third round. I am just such a big believer in the product the Avalanche have. Let's go over to the Avalanche right here and see where their team is. Cale Makar, Nathan MacKinnon, these guys are absolutely franchise-defining players. Cale Makar is arguably a generational defenseman. How do you get 2.5 points a game as a D-man? You're almost a point per game, almost a goal a game as a D-man. You're at 2 points a game as a D-man. Cale Makar cannot be stopped, and I think the St. Louis Blues, even though they do have themselves a pretty good team, I don't think they're going to go out there and stop this guy. Ville Husso can be on when he really wants to be, but the Colorado Avalanche, I think, are just so strong. You're seeing other guys stepping up in big ways, too. Devon Taves coming in with slap shots on the rush. Landeskog, he's back and better than ever. Nathan MacKinnon is Nathan freaking MacKinnon. And then you have all the other players. You've got 5 point per game guys so far for this team, and Devon Taves is one of them. Like, how wild is it that you're able to get this solid of a team together in the cap era, and you still have the goaltending? Look at Darcy Kemper and his 1.63 goals against and .934 save percentage. Let's go over to the St. Louis Blues and take a look at what they have accomplished so far in the postseason. I know they had a really good run against Minnesota. They're the only team to actually dethrone one of my picks, but David Perron doing doing really well. Ryan O'Reilly, Tarasenko. Tarasenko has been lighting the world on fire, or at least he lit Minnesota on fire in the series. You're having everybody else stepping up to Cairo, Parayko, Buchnevich. This is a really solid squad, but I just really do believe in the Colorado Avalanche to do what they are able to do. And as a result, I mean, whether it's Binnington or Husso in net, I did say Husso can really step it up when he wants to. Binnington, I know he's been that absolute monster in the postseason in the past. I just don't think that they've got what it takes to beat Colorado. I'm such a believer in the Avalanche, and that's kind of why I had them go into the third round, regardless if they played Minnesota or St. Louis. Going over onto Calgary Edmonton. Look, we have a different perspective now because the playoffs have actually started, and we're not talking about this from the lens of the regular season Flames versus the regular season Oilers. This is a Flames team that just beat Dallas in 7 games. This is an Oilers team that just beat LA in 7 games. I don't even want to go over the points because the points are kind of misleading. They didn't have too many goals scoring in the Dallas and Calgary series. Instead, what we're going to have now is 2 high-octane, high-caliber offensive teams going at it. Calgary, I do give the edge to, because I do think that Calgary is more capable of playing a defensively oriented style game, which is what we saw in the Dallas series in the first round. I don't know if Edmonton is really able to match that type of pace, although I do recognize that Edmonton did have to get their chops out to beat LA in 7 games. I just think that Calgary and their overall team chemistry is a lot more poised and defined than Edmonton's is. However, if Edmonton does go out and beat Calgary, it's going to be because they outscored the heck out of the Flames, not because their defense is so good or because Mike Smith stole the show against Jacob Markstrom. I give the defense and the goaltending edge to Calgary over here. Offense, I would give it to Edmonton, or maybe say it's barely in the same realm, but I mean, you have a series right here with 4 100-point scores going at it. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm saying Calgary in, let's say 6 or 7. Let's say 7, just to make it clear over there. And for Colorado St. Louis, let's say Colorado in 6, just because I do think St. Louis can do some damage, not too much, though. I still think Colorado is going to be able to run away with that series. Going over onto the Eastern Conference, though, Tampa Bay and Florida. I did say that Tampa Bay was going to beat Florida, and the reason for that is because of the same reason why I thought Tampa Bay would be able to beat Toronto, and why they did beat Toronto, because Toronto, even though they were the better team, even though they were so gosh darn good, even though this was the best Toronto has played in the playoffs in decades, they still lost because Tampa Bay just shut them down. Tampa does this. Tampa is able to win when their backs are against the wall. And Florida had some trouble with Ovechkin and the Caps already in the first round, making this matchup of Florida-Tampa in the second round a lot easier for me to give the edge to the Bolts and say that for the second year in a row they're going to eliminate the Florida Panthers, let's say in 7 games this time. I think the Lightning are just so strong in terms of them being able to step up to the task at hand. And look, against the Toronto Maple Leafs, you didn't really see the guys that you expected to see show up in the best way possible. I mean, Steven Stamkos had 2 goals. Yeah, that's happened. You had Nikita Kucherov with 2 goals. You had Victor Hedman with 2 goals. But guess who came out to play? Ross Colton, 3 goals. Andre Palat, 3 goals. You had Nick Paul with 2 goals in Game 7. First Tampa Bay Lightning player since Ruslan Fedotenko to score 2 goals in a 7th game of a series. And this is just speaking volumes to the depth of the Lightning. I know Florida has their chops as well. You take a look at what they've been able to accomplish. Carter Verhaeghe is an absolute monster, man. Like, 12 points in 6 games. This guy, absolutely fantastic. Claude Giroux coming alive in the postseason. I do really want to see Claude Giroux going out there and doing damage in the postseason, which he has been. And if the Lightning end up losing in the second round and Florida goes to the conference finals, then hey, good for Giroux getting himself back in that conversation. But just for the sake of my bracket, I do still think that Tampa is going to be that team. And then you have Carolina versus New York. New York barely edged out against a Pittsburgh team that was lacking Crosby, Jari, and Raquel for a good chunk of that series. They came back several times. They came back down 3-1, and they were absolutely phenomenal when they needed to be. Clawing back, winning in overtime, doing what it is they needed to do. However, the Carolina Hurricanes are just a team that is too gosh darn good to fall for any of those traps. I do think the Hurricanes are going to come out with this one, and I'm going to say they're going to do it in 6. I think the Hurricanes are indeed a better team. I don't think the New York Rangers are going to have that magic in Igor Shesterkin's touch lasting them the rest of this playoff run. You have defense going out there and scoring point per game numbers for Carolina. Slavin and D'Angelo both doing fantastically. We've already talked about Max Domi. We know what Sebastian Aho and Toivo Teravainen can bring. Seth Jarvis has been a fantastic rookie over there. New York is a team that I think just has been carried by goaltending into the playoffs, and they took advantage of a Pittsburgh team that was vulnerable in that first round. I don't know if New York is going to be able to pull this out, which is why I'm going to say Carolina in, let's say, 6. I said Tampa Bay in 7, Colorado in 6, Calgary in, what did I say, 7? So those are my second round predictions right there. And then the third round, I mean, we'll get there when we get there. If you want my explanations for these third round matchups, I already said all that in the very first playoff predictions video. The fact that I went 7 for 8, I'm still kind of mind blown by that. I know Wayne Gretzky went 8 for 8, so there you go, the great one is up in there, but there are still these 16 crazy people that actually had perfect brackets so far, getting all the 8 guys, or excuse me, the 8 teams correct, and getting the series numbers correct too. Oh, actually, this user did not get the Colorado series correct. Colorado in 6, they said. It was really Colorado in 4. So maybe there are fewer crazy people that I thought in the world, but talk in the comments either way, all your thoughts about the playoffs, my thoughts on these series. Colorado in 6, Calgary in 7, Tampa Bay in 7, let's say Carolina in 6 as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls 99, and bye.